In the post-Meta Andromeda world, we want to be focusing on a few key things with our creative and ad copy in order to make successful ads. In the last video, we dove into how to actually set up the campaign, what AI features should and shouldn't be turned on, ad campaign structure, and everything. And we identified that one of the core components of successful ads this year in 2026 is going to be making great creative. And that is really the deciding factor between your campaigns doing bad and your campaigns doing good. And so I wanted to break down the core components of what this means for you and how the actual algorithm is working so you can have a full understanding of the impact that it has on your business. Now, if you've already seen some of this stuff, go ahead and skip forward just a little bit and we'll get into breaking down how to think about your ad creative and the psychology behind it. But just for those getting a refresher, just giving you a refresher here, it is a next-gen ads retrieval system. And so this is kind of what they shared on their blog post. And really the way that this works is Meta has rebuilt the brain and it chooses which ads actually get considered. It's massively more powerful and smarter than it was before. And so the creative matters more than ever. And because if your creative isn't in the pool of creative that it's being selected for, it won't even get a chance. So if you're not making good creative, Meta's not even going to want to test that creative. And so now we need more creative variation. How do we make creative variation? Is it just changing a hook? Is it just changing a main content piece? Is it just changing the person on camera? What are the actual factors that go into having a good enough creative variation, a creative concept for your advertising? And so because of the increase in AI-driven tools, we've seen a big shift in the amount of creative, just the volume of creative that's going through these ad campaigns. And so at this point in time, the old retrieval system, or in the past, it couldn't hold and handle the capacity and the amount of creatives that are running through the ad campaigns now. And so the old way doesn't really work. And we all know that AI is continuing to take over and continue to become a bigger part of what we do with our creatives. And so if we don't have an understanding of how the new way is going to work, then we're going to really struggle. So here's the big key takeaways from this, okay? You can't just throw money at narrow audiences. We can't go and hyper-target different audiences because that strategy no longer works. Or make small creative tweaks. That is no longer working. It's not going to work anymore. The system rewards creative volume, variation, and high-quality creative and copy. The set it and forget it method is not going to work anymore, okay? So what this means is we need to give Meta many creative variations. Give it options to choose the right ad for the right person. If we don't, your ad might not even show, okay? So here's a cheat sheet for you. I'm not going to go through every single one, but this is what you need to keep in mind when you're making ads. So screenshot this, pause the video, write some things down. This is very, very important for you to think about and have the frame of mind when it comes to a Meta ad campaign and coming up with creatives. For example, Meta no longer just shows your ad to an audience, it now chooses the best ad for each person from millions of possibilities. So avatars are important, personas are important, the ad angles are important. And I want to talk today about something called awareness stages and then break this down with you so you can understand that making different ads for different places in your customer journey is so crucial, okay? So before we do that, I just want you to understand that every customer that you have, your customer journey is always different, all right? So for example, if you have a customer here, and let's say they see an organic IG post, all right? They're introduced to you through an organic IG post. We all know that there are multiple touch points that a customer must go through in order to then purchase. We know that it can take 7, 12, 20 times, whatever the new statistic is now about how many touch points people need to have before they need to be exposed to your brand and products in order to purchase, but maybe they're retargeted with a Meta ad and then see a Google ad and they're targeted there. And then maybe they go back and they see another Meta ad, a YouTube video, another Meta ad. And so the reason that I go through all this with you is to showcase to you the way we need to think about our creatives, because if we look at this right now, there are 3 instances in their customer journey that they saw a Meta ad. How does Meta know what ad to serve? Well, it's much more intelligent than us, so it's going to be much better at selecting the right ad. But if we don't have the correct ad at the correct stage, then what's going to happen? If we only have our most aware, which is our creative that is focused maybe on offer, right? Maybe get 20 or 30% off. we have another one that is most aware, right? And space the same thing. Or then we have a hook variation that is also most aware, right? Then what's happening with our creators? They're basically all the same. So for this particular customer in their journey, going through this journey we just created, how are we helping them to make a decision if they're not ready to buy yet? What if instead we did something a little bit different? What if instead we had a unaware ad? Then here we had a problem aware ad, where now they know they have a problem because we've just identified it in the unaware ad. And then 2 weeks later, we have a solution aware ad. We're presenting them with how they can solve the problem. And so now we have a much more cohesive experience for the customer to help move them along the journey. But if we don't do this, it's going to really affect our ability to deliver and affect our ability to get results, and also really affect our ROAS on our campaigns. So what are these awareness stages? Now, I've thrown a few out there already, but I want to break them down for you because when you understand these at a deeper level, it can give you a new pathway and a new way to think about creating your ad copy and your videos and your statics. So the first stage that we're going to talk about is we're going to start with our unaware. All right. Now, these are people who don't know they have a problem. And these people are not actively searching. They're not searching for solution. Okay. Because they don't even know they have a problem. And so the goal of our unaware ads here is we want to help them to understand or bring some irritation to the pain that they may be experiencing, or help them identify a pain that they might be having. So an example of this might be a customer has dry skin but hasn't consciously identified it as a problem yet. They just think that their makeup doesn't apply well. So maybe they have dry skin, right? We're talking about a beauty brand here, but hasn't consciously identified it as a problem. So maybe they're like, wonder why that's happening, right? Or they might be starting to like not really know why, but there's something there in the back of their minds they haven't really identified yet. So bring awareness to the problem. So you could say something like, do you have dry skin? That could be a way to do that. Then we move to our next stage, which is going to be our problem aware. Problem aware stage, they start to know that they have a problem, okay? Know they have problem, and they're searching now for symptom-related content. So in this case, you can see how making an ad at this level for a beauty brand and talking about making a video about why you have dry skin, or why you might have dry skin and why that's a problem, could be a great ad for this stage of the customer journey. Because in this stage of the customer journey, if we don't help them understand the problem in more depth, and that this is actually a common problem that most people are affected by, and we discuss different aspects of the problem, then now we've irritated the problem more, and now they're going to want to find a solution because they want a solution to the problem. They realize they have a problem. So in this stage here, this is where they start to kind of become aware of this. Now in the third stage, moving to our third awareness stage, this is solution aware, and this is where they know of solutions to their problem, but they haven't yet done anything about it. Haven't yet taken action. In this stage specifically, they're typically considering their options, right? So we're in a consideration stage at this point, and they're trying to figure out what can I actually do to solve this problem. All right, let's talk about number 4. We'll come back to this here and look at this at a high level. I got a few things I want to talk to you about with this that'll really, really help you. Then we've got product aware, and we're actually going to get rid of all this here, and we'll come back to product aware. This is where they know about your product, haven't purchased, all right? And when we were talking about the customer journey earlier, this is where we would want to introduce these most aware ads, right? This is where we want to show these, because this is when they would get them over the edge. But if we haven't gone through and helped them with these other stages, then they're not going to be ready to buy. So in this stage, product aware, they know they have a solution, but they haven't yet purchased. And the last but not least is our most aware. So in this stage, they're ready to buy. They just need a push. So when we zoom out here, at a 10,000 foot view of our awareness stages, what you'll notice is that basically between here and here, they're in the consideration phase. They're considering their purchase. They're trying to do their research. They're trying to ask the right questions. They're trying to figure out what are the ingredients? What is the solutions that I could potentially go through? And so in this stage, you can see that if we create consideration stage content that we can put inside our meta campaigns, then Facebook, because the algorithm's so intelligent, it's going to be able to know from all these different touch points, right, on the customer journey, that it's going to be able to know exactly what ad to deliver at exactly that point. And we're going to leave it up to them to decide. That's what Andromeda is all about. It is about giving it enough creative juice and enough at every different stage of the customer journey to deliver the exact right ad to the exact right person, depending on their browsing history, their search, exactly what they've been looking at, and delivering that ad to get you the sale. So running ads on Meta become a whole lot easier because when you think about it like this, you can realize where you're missing stuff. You can see the cracks in your own strategy. Because if you go and look at right now all of your different content, and you've identified that you have no content in this consideration stage, and you only have content, say, in the product aware stage, and you have no content in the unaware stage, well, guess what? You're missing multiple pieces of the customer journey. And when I realized this, I was like, oh man, this is actually a big deal, because if I don't have content that hits every one of these points right here, right? Unaware, problem aware, solution aware, product aware, most aware, then my meta ads aren't going to work properly. So what do we do? How do we fix this? Well, there's a cool thing called AI that a lot of us use now. And for example, using ChatGPT or Claude, I would recommend using a tool, Claude AI. Best tool out there, I think, for copywriting specifically, because you can also have the power of the project files. And what you can do inside of a Claude project is you can give it data points, right? So for example, let's say we have a video ad, all right? And this video ad is advertising a moisturizer. And let's say that someone is struggling with the problem that they have is dry skin, all right? That's their problem. But the customer doesn't yet know. They don't know they have a problem, all right? They're experiencing it, but they haven't questioned it. So an example of an ad that we might deliver to them for people that have dry skin is, again, bringing up a question for them to think about. Do you have dry skin? And you could tell them that you don't need to anymore. And it's a common problem, right? So now they're going to be starting to think about, oh crap, I do have dry skin. That sucks, right? What can I do about it? So now they're going to be thinking about their problem. But the thing is if you didn't make any content in this stage, you didn't make anything over here, how would they know? They're not going to know. So you can see how if you make a creative here at this stage, right, that teaches them that, has a script on that, then that's going to work well. It's going to move them down the funnel. Now they're thinking about their problem. Well, now what do we need to do? Well, now we know they have a problem. We need to irritate the problem more. So from here, we want to irritate. Spelled that wrong, but it's all good. Don't judge me. Irritate problem. Okay. And we could do an ad, right? Maybe the ad is, this is the 5 reasons dry skin is bad, right? Or affects your day-to-day life in some way, right? Now we're irritating the problem. Now we're hitting on things that they're like, oh man, you're kind of right. Like, you give me more and more reasons. I need to do something about this problem now. And so you've irritated the problem enough to now they want to find not a problem. They want to find a solution to their problem, right? They want to find a solution because now you've created so much irritation around the problem. So now what kind of ad can we make here, right? Create an ad around this now. So we're at 2. Now we need an ad here. And this ad might be, this is how Emily went from dry skin to healthy in 60 days, right? Make a video on that. Talk about the experience. Maybe it's a testimonial. Maybe it's a customer talking about their experience with the product. And now all of a sudden, you've revealed something to them, which is that they now have an awareness of the product because in the solution video, you revealed what the product was, and it's a product that you sell. So now we've got to create a product video. Now we've got to make a video talking about why the product, right, is better than competitors, right? Talking about the ingredients, talking about what it has, how they developed this, why it is the best thing for the solution or the problem that they have and the solution through the product, right? So now all we have to do is then our most aware, which is going to be our offer. It's going to be a push, a reminder, right? It doesn't need to be too complicated, but in this stage, we're making an ad with, say 30% off or 10% off, right? Or it could be, I know you've been seeing these ads. This will help you, right? Just a basic thing, like a testimonial. Could be someone reminding them, like, hey, look, I know you've been looking at this. I know you have this problem. Here's a solution. We've shared this with you. It's the best option in the market. And we'll even give you 10% off if you buy today, right? Simple. So again, this was off the cuff, explaining to you the whole process of how these creators work. But I hope you can start to see the impact this can have by thinking about your ads this way. And what's crazy is if you just take an ad that you've created, whether it's a static or a video, you can change the output and the solution or the ad creative itself by simply changing the ad copy. So you can take, for example, Claude AI, you can plug the transcript into AI, and you can ask it, make the same ad, but a solution-aware ad, all right? And what it's going to do is it's going to change the whole way that's written to give you the output of a solution-aware ad that was originally a problem-aware ad that you can then use to create another ad that's in a whole different category, a whole different part of this customer journey, right? If we want to be able to show all the right ads at every single touch point so we can get customers to buy, right, and give us their money as quickly as possible, right? Then this is how we do it. This is how we look at our advertising strategy. And if you apply this, I promise you that you'll get better results. Because in the world we live in today, this is how you need to market your business. You need to have unaware, problem-aware, solution-aware, most aware, and also product-aware ads. You do this, and your ad campaigns will improve. Now, if you're looking for other ways to grow your profitability with your business, I highly recommend that you install TxtCart's 14-day free trial. It incredibly helped our business scale tens of thousands of dollars a year just by installing it with just the abandoned cart flow sequence, where it's powered by AI and has real conversations with your customers. Go and check that out down below. There's a free 14-day free trial. Hopefully this video on ads have really helped you as well. If you pair that with TxtCart and this, you are destined to have a lot more success and profitability in your business because of focus on the back end and the front end. And those two together are just a great formula for success. So thanks so much for watching, guys. Appreciate you. Check out this video next, and I'll see you in the next video.